Hi, I'm Wayne the Boat Guy, and in this video we're going to be talking about different types of boats and picking out the right type of boat for you. So when we're trying to talk about different types of boats, there's a lot of types of boats out there. It can be very, very confusing. And I'm not even going to get into sailboats. I'm just talking about motorboats. It comes down to 4 basic questions. And when you answer those 4 basic questions, it helps narrow down the scope greatly for what kind of boat is right for you. You'll probably fall into some of these categories where it's hard to pick what the best answer is, but humor me for a little bit here. Our first question is, what will you be doing with your boat? Primarily, what would you be doing with your boat? Is it fishing? Is it cruising? Is it family time? Or is it having fun? And what I mean by these things is, if most of the time when you go out in your boat, you plan to go out fishing, then that's primarily what you'll be doing. Doesn't mean you wouldn't necessarily be pulling a skier on occasion or taking the family out. If primarily your function is cruising, that's also important too, because different types of boats are more suitable for primarily cruising than primarily fishing. If family time is your number one thing, then obviously you're going to need a boat with lots of space. And if having fun on your boat is the primary thing, well, there's a lot of boats that are much more specialized for having fun. So if you have to pick one of those categories of the primary thing you'd be doing with your boat, pick one of those. Our next category is, where will you be using your boat? Will you be using your boat just on one lake? Maybe you live right off of a lake, and that's the only place you ever plan to be using your boat. That's okay. Maybe you'll be using your boat in a river and a bay. Maybe you're only using your boat in the open ocean. Or maybe you'll be using your boat lots of different places. Our next question is, how many people typically would be on your boat? Is it just always going to be you? Is it 1 to 3 people? Is it your family with young children? Or is your boat going to be a party where it could be any number of people on the boat? And lastly, what specific needs do you have? Do you need a boat with a toilet? Do you definitely want to be able to water ski from your boat? Maybe live wells for fishing, or having a cabin underneath to duck out of the weather. Maybe there's a combination of those kinds of things. But you take these 4 questions and you can kind of come up with a rough plan of what type of boat you need. For example, when I answer those 4 questions, I come up with boat for us, which is a cruising boat in a river in the bay with 1 to 3 people and a toilet. And our 4 Winds Horizon 230 boat that we currently have fits that bill perfectly. Now, there are times where we could do water sports off the back of that boat, and we could certainly fit more than 3 people on the boat. But typically, that's what we're doing with our boat. Now, the boat for you might be completely different. For example, if your number one thing is family time, and you're going to take the boat lots of places with your family and kids, but you want a toilet, maybe a different type of boat would be more suitable for you. For example, a pontoon boat. Pontoon boats are great because they offer a lot of stability, a lot of deck space, and they're quite easy to manage and handle for families. They also usually don't go very fast either. Hey, by the way, if you're liking this video, please click the like button down below. I really appreciate it. Let's say you live off the coast of Florida and you're going to be fishing. So you want a fishing boat for the open ocean, a few people, live wells. A center console 27-foot boat would be great for that type of situation. Something where you can go out in the open water, cast your reels off of any side, cast your rods off of any side of the boat, and be able to go out there and fish all day with a couple of buddies. Obviously, in a boat like that, you could still have a lot of people if you have enough deck space and seating. But if that's primarily what you're doing, a center console boat would be very well suited for that. And of course, there's other very important things to consider. Your budget, towing, whether or not you have a vehicle that can tow the boat that you want. And can you actually easily get it in and out of the water? Whether you're looking for a boat that's a project or something that's just ready to go. Some people like a project boat where they can be constantly doing upgrades and changes and enhancements to the boat. And then storing the boat. Some boats are much easier to store than others, and sometimes people have limited space at their house to be able to store a boat like in the off-season. Looking at all those types of factors, let's talk about some of the common types of boats there are. So fishing boats are very common, and there's different types of fishing boats out there. The very small economical john boats are very popular with people who go fishing in ponds and lakes and are typically only going out by themselves or one other person, and they're on a budget. Skiffs are a larger version of a similar kind of boat like that are well suited for fishing. And then of course if you're going out into the ocean or large bays, center consoles are more suited for fishing. One reason why a lot of people go with a center console boat is because a center console boat does not have things that are in the way of being able to cast your rods out. Center console boats have the console in the middle, and if they have a roof, it's a hard roof that's fixed to the center with a lot of deck space all the way around for being able to walk around to be able to retrieve fish from all around the boat. In more family style boats and cruiser boats, you could fish, but you're only going to be fishing off of the back of the boat or off of the sides of the boat, and you might have things like a bimini top to contend with. Now, if water sports is your thing, like water skiing or whatever, you might want a boat that's a wake boat. And wake boats are interesting because they're bow rider boats, so they have lots of seating, but usually they're outfitted with a really nice stereo system, and they're decorated very nice, and it makes a bigger wake, so that when people are behind your boat, water skiing or wakeboarding or whatever, there's a nice big wake for them to actually be able to have fun with. And if you're out cruising, usually you want a cabin cruiser or a bow rider, or sometimes a pontoon boat. And if you want to party and go out with your family, as I mentioned before, pontoon boats are great for that. So any of these types of boats that I mentioned can be used for any different type of category. But some are more ideally suited for one type of thing over another. For example, pontoon boats sometimes can be a challenge in rougher waters and areas where it can be strong winds. A lot of people do not take pontoon boats out in areas like open bays. But if you're boating on a lake or a reservoir, you're going to see a lot more pontoon boats, wake boats, and bow riders. But also, if there's an area where you plan on boating, it's always a good idea to take a look at what kind of boats are common in that area. When we were shopping for our last boat, I went down to the marina and I took a look around what a lot of the other boats were out there. And I also looked at what a lot of the other boats were out in our river and looked to see what people were doing with those boats. And that really helped us narrow down our decision quite a bit. So all of these are decisions that you have to make yourself. And luckily, we live in a time where there is a wide variety of boats out there. There are advantages and disadvantages to all the different styles of boats. One of the reasons you typically see inboard-outboard engines is because those allow a better back part of the boat for cruising and for water sports. And so a lot of times the boats that are designed for water sports have an inboard-outboard, so that way the back of the boat is much cleaner for people to be able to swim off of and hook up for water skiing. While fishing boats are typically outfitted with outboard motors, sometimes multiple outboard motors, depending on how far out into the ocean they're going and how fast they want to get out there. Let me know what kind of boat you have or you're in the market for in the comments below. I hope this information was helpful for you to be able to try to decide what kind of boat might be best suited for you. Thank you so much for watching. Here's another video pick just for you and a playlist of similar videos to this one. Stay safe out there on the water.